Merry Christmas! What way to celebrate Christmas than reading scary stories from Reddit? Please like and subscribe, and if you're not new here, welcome back, Coffee Beans. We love you. So this video, again, these were blind reacts to us. I did get permission a year ago, but I haven't read them since. Excuse my shock value. And I'm going to be reading off my phone if you see me looking down. This story is from the No Sleep section, and it was posted by sleepyhello_1019 9 years ago. And it's called Merry Fucking Christmas. The doctor told me I had to write this. He said it might make me feel better. I don't think that's true. It has been so long that the doctors must know there is no getting better for me. You know what I think it is? Morbid curiosity. At my expense, of course. The doctors may have pretended to be empathetic at first, but they don't put the effort in anymore. Now I'm just an interesting case study that they pass around when they're having a slow day. And there's nothing I can do about it, except take a deep, slow breath, like Tabby taught me, and write. Tabby is my therapist, by the way. She doesn't let me call her Dr. Gorn. She said that we're friends. This sounds cheesy, but she's the only person that cares about me here. The one person, interestingly enough, who has never manipulated me. She still believes there's a chance for me. She only wants me to be happy. Okay, deep breaths, in and out. Why do they want to read this? They know the story anyways. Perhaps they're looking for inconsistencies. Enough stalling, here I go. It starts with Christmas. I can't say that I didn't like Christmas, but it wasn't exactly my favorite holiday. Yes, there's the feel-good movies, the hot chocolate, and presents, and of course family time. Yes, there's Christmas carols, Christmas cookies, and Christmas dinner. Yes, there's Santa and owls and reindeer. But there's also Christmas trees, and I hate Christmas trees. Who hates Christmas trees? My parents used to think it was funny. It started when I was a really little kid, maybe around 5 or 6. I was too young to really help with the decorating of the trees, so my parents sent me to spend the day with my grandma, intent on surprising me with a fully decorated Christmas tree when I got home. We've never had a Christmas tree before because in the past we lived in a tiny apartment and didn't have the space for one. My parents had finally brought their own home and they wanted to go all out decorating. When I came home, there was a monster in the room. It wasn't even recognizable as a tree. Once they were done with it, and that's the problem, it was a huge green and red golden monster looming over me with menace. It looked like it was 10 feet tall. My parents hung up very classy ornaments, trying to make the tree look like something Martha Stewart would jizz all over. But to me, they didn't look elegant. They looked twisty and spiky and sharp, also very threatening. To top it off, there was no angel at the top of the tree. In its place was a Santa hat. It looked awful with those ornaments, let me tell you. My parents never were very up-to-date on what's fashionable. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. My point is that with the addition of the hat and the monstrosity didn't look like a tree anymore. It looked like some kind of weird beast out of a nightmare, intent to swallow me whole and strangle me with ropes and garlands, stabbing me to death with the pointy ornaments, all while leering down at me, its eyes hiding under that god-awful hat. I just knew it had eyes under there somewhere. Something was watching me, watching my every move. I screamed and I cried and threw a fit. My parents were absolutely bewildered. When I had finally able to stutter out why I was so afraid, they laughed at me. Of course, it must have seemed very silly to them, and they didn't laugh to be malicious or cruel, but it really hurt me. Why couldn't they see how terrible that thing was? They got rid of the tree, and we didn't have one for many years after that. This story became very popular among my family. I hated hearing it every year, and I always hated Christmas trees from then on after. My attitude towards Christmas itself cooled off too. I actually liked Halloween more. Those things were supposed to be scary. It was expected. The fact that nobody could see what was so scary about the tree upset me even more. And what about all the other creepy Christmas tradition. The elf on the shelf. What sick fuck came up with that? A midnight mass on Christmas, where the church is dark, but for hundreds of candles casting shadows against stained glasses. And don't get me started on the stalker Santa.
This person really doesn't like Christmas.
He really doesn't. So we celebrated Christmas at my house, but we didn't have a Christmas tree not until my younger brother came into the mix. He's 3 years younger than me. His name is Ethan. I tell myself that every day to make sure I don't forget about something happened to Ethan. Sometimes I'm afraid I'll wake up one day and his name will be gone forever. It feels that way whenever they change my medication. I won't forget. If that's the only good thing coming from writing this down, so be it. Anyway, Ethan. When Ethan was 6, my parents decided to reintroduce the Christmas tree. They sat down and had a talk with me about how they wanted Ethan to have the full experience, how I was old enough to not be afraid of a tree. I told them that, of course, I wasn't afraid. I'd gotten over it a long time ago. Inside, though, I was sick with fear. But I couldn't let it show because I love Ethan. I love him more than anything in the world, and I wanted him to have the best Christmas ever. So we got a tree. My parents tried to get me to help decorate. I wanted to refuse, but Ethan begged me, so I couldn't. So I helped string up the garland and the lights the whole time. I felt like the fucking thing was mocking me, laughing at me. I can't explain it. It was like it knew I was afraid, knew I felt danger and emanating from its branches. Once in a while, a branch would scrape across my arm and I jumped. It felt like the tree was reaching for me. That was a long afternoon. Once the tree was decorated, I avoided it as much as possible. I stayed out the living room when I could, and when I couldn't avoid it, I kept my eyes averted. I thought that maybe since I was a few years older, it wouldn't be so frightening, but I was wrong. It was even worse. I felt like it was mocking me in my fear. Now I know how it sounds. Anyway, Ethan absolutely loved the tree. He would sit in front of it every day after school, playing with the ornaments and lights. Sometimes he'd get up in the middle of the night and curl up to sleep under the tree. My parents took pictures of him like that. They thought it was cute. I wonder what happened to those pictures. Not that anybody would let me see them. So, life went on. Christmas got closer and Ethan was getting more and more excited. God, he just loved Christmas so much. And I did, but I loved that it made him happy. I was more than happy to play along with him, to get him into the Christmas spirit. And then, before we knew it, Christmas Eve arrived. We had a Christmas Eve tradition like any family. We would all cuddle up in the living room with cups of hot chocolate and watch Christmas movies. Ethan and I would each choose one present from under the tree to open a day early. We would set our milk and cookies out for Santa, and then we'd all go to bed. Sometime about half an hour after going to bed, my parents would shake jingle bells outside our room and convince us that Santa had arrived. At 9 years old, I absolutely was much too old to believe in Santa. Thank you very much. But Ethan loved it, so that's okay. But that Christmas Eve was different. It was different because I was sick. I really wasn't faking. I think my parents suspected I was to get out of sitting in the living room near the Christmas tree, but I honest to God felt nauseous and freezing cold. I finally convinced my mom by asking her to take my temperature. I was running a pretty substantial fever. "Oh, honey, I'm sorry I didn't believe you," she said. I can still hear her in my mind's eye. Flyaway strands of her long black hair falling in front of her eyes. My eyes looked just like hers. "We'll get you in bed, sport. You can open the first present tomorrow," Dad offered a consolation. I can't see his face as clearly, but I can see his stature the way it dwarfed the room. He was invincible. I always felt that way. Nothing could beat my dad. Ethan gave me an extra long hug and even offered to give up opening his present early so I wouldn't feel left out. But I knew he'd be disappointed. So I told him to go ahead and open the gift and let me know what it was in the morning. He smiled, and that made everything worth it. I went to bed, dozing into fitful sleep. my brother's laughter drifting in and out of my ears as I slowly relaxed. The next few hours passed in a haze. I thought perhaps my fever had gotten worse because I kept hearing things. I heard my parents arguing about something. I heard something fall down the stairs. I heard strange rustling noises. The noise punctured my dreams as a long string of nightmares about Santa and knives and shattered Christmas lights. I grasped into consciousness as I was dreaming about choking to death on candy canes. Ooh. It seemed rather silly when I woke up, but it doesn't seem silly now. It was about 3 in the morning when I woke up. I was feeling a little better, but I still had a bit of a fever. I decided to walk back down the stairs and get a glass of water. I remember chuckling to myself, thinking how surprised I'd be if I ran into Santa. Wouldn't that be something? But my giggling sounded a little strange to my ears. I was nervous. Why am I nervous? I couldn't trace this feeling to a source. I only knew that something about that night wasn't letting me relax. I walked down the stairs to a pitch black, not wanting to turn the lights on and wake anybody else up. I reached the landing and walked towards the kitchen. Okay, this is the part that gets hard. Deep breaths. Think of Ethan. I knew something was wrong. Even as I got a glass of water from the tap, I could sense it. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was going on at first. Then it hit me. Sound. See, this wasn't noise. It was obnoxious and rattling and immediately recognizable, but just a slow, deep sound that was vaguely familiar, vaguely upsetting, and it was coming from the living room. My hand trembled around the glass as I stared across the kitchen. The kitchen opened directly into the dining room, which connected to the living room. The door between the dining room and the living room was shut. My parents had hung a Christmas wreath on it. It looked a lot less festive in the dark. For a long moment, I just stared at the door, willing the sound to go away, but it didn't. The world doesn't work like that. I learned that lesson very well that night. Eventually, I had to make a decision. There we go. I could go upstairs and go back to sleep, or I could buck up and see what was making that noise. I wanted so badly just to go to bed, but I knew I couldn't. Maybe it was just mom and dad in the house. Maybe then I would have gone to wake them up. But all I could think was, Ethan, and how it's my job as the older brother to protect him. I crept across the kitchen, through the dining room, and ended up staring at the door. The sound was louder over there. It took me a few minutes to work up the courage to open the door. I told myself it would just be like ripping off a band-aid. Opening the door would be the worst part, and then everything after that would be okay. Isn't it funny? Not really, I guess. I opened the door. My whole world ended that moment. My parents were on the floor, their bodies twisted and crumpled together. They looked like they'd been filleted alive, their skin hanging in ribbons off their body. The air was so thick with blood, you could taste it. In the back of their mouths, my parents on the floor, and I couldn't tell where one body started, ripped and pulled and flayed apart. But I didn't get much time to look at them because a thin, wheezing cough caught my attention. I dragged my eyes over to the tree, the source of the sound. The deep rumbling was somewhere in the background, but it no longer took a priority at this point, as you can imagine. No, that wheezing noise was somewhere more pressing. It only took a second to figure out. Ethan. In the tree. Breath kept breathing. Keep breathing. I'll get through this. Ethan was in the tree, as in his head and one of his arms was sticking out like branches. The rest of the body was somewhere deeper within the thickness of the monstrosity. The wheezing sounds were pitiful attempts he was making to keep breathing. Ethan was being pulled further and further into the tree, his eyes glazed over with a thick kind of haze. I desperately wanted him to look at me, but he seemed incapable of doing so. Oh God, oh Jesus Christ. He didn't hear me. I grabbed his arm and yanked. I was his big brother. I was his hero. I was going to get him out of the tree and somehow everything would be okay. The wheezing sound got worse as I struggled. It felt like he was tied to the tree itself. That's how strong its grip was. But I was determined. I knew I could do it. Eventually, I pulled him free. We stumbled back together. I fell hard on my ass, clutching my baby brother to my chest. Elated that I saved him, except I didn't. I'd only saved half of him. Oof. His body ended at about the waist, thin, shredded of flesh and muscle hanging down in strings. His intestines were hanging out too. That was left of him. It almost looked like it almost looked like the tree had eaten them. I tried talking to him. Then I remembered thinking that I could fix it. Hey, Ethan. Hey, wake up, please, Ethan. Come on, wake up. It's Christmas. You can't go away on Christmas. He never even heard me. He was basically dead already, although it took a few more moments for his heart to actually stop beating. I sat there in the middle of the living room, my parents bleeding on the carpet behind me, my dead baby brother twitching in my arms. I sat there and I looked at the Christmas tree and I listened to the deep rumbling sound, the sound of something pulling in and pushing out. The tree shook a little with it. Its pine needles quivered at times. It was the sound of the tree breathing. Usually, this is the part where I tell you I blacked out and don't remember anything. That the police found me the next morning rocking back my baby brother back and forth and singing Christmas carols, and I only know about that because you've told me about this over and over again. Well, here's something new for you to analyze. I remember every goddamn second of that night. The night that never seemed to end. I spent it staring at that tree in objective terror, knowing for a certainty that it would come for me, knowing it would eat me alive too, just as it had done my brother, knowing that its needles had sharpened and hardened when we weren't paying attention. They had been used to fillet my parents apart. The tree swayed and shivered throughout the night, and I knew that at some point it would bend over and reach out for me and swipe me into the maw that had hidden somewhere deeper within the branches. Except it didn't. Eventually the quivering stopped, the breathing stopped. The tree was still as stone, but for the trickles of blood still falling from its needles. It was a few moments later that the police came through the door and found me sitting there. Our neighbors had called the cops. I must have screamed at some point during our standoff, or several points. It didn't matter. They came and found me, and they took me away, and now I'm here. But that you already knew. So that's it. There you go. You made me write it out, and now you can share it with your colleagues and laugh at me. I know you do. I can hear the laughter in their voices at my expense. You know what the worst part about being stuck here is? It's not like being treated like I'm crazy. I don't give two shits about that. It's the fact that you've deprived me of everything that has to do with my family. You don't even care. I don't have pictures of them. I don't have any of their belongings. I don't even know what you did with the house. Is it still empty? I ponder. Would anyone dare to buy it? I never even found out what present Ethan opened that night before. I think about it a lot. What was his last toy? You don't tell me what the police found during their investigation. Not that it matters, because I know what happened. But do they? Maybe they think I did. Maybe they think I did it. Maybe that's why you're keeping me here. In the end, though, in the end, it doesn't matter. My life ended that night. Do you even understand that? It was over the moment I opened the door. I opened the door to eternal night. One that I can never escape, and you bastards are enjoying watching me suffer. Merry fucking Christmas. That was dark.
Mm,
I did not see the tree coming. Maybe it's the tree coming back to life to get the vengeance because you cut it down.
yeah. But yeah, I didn't expect it to be the actual tree.
Mm.
Right. Mm. Apologies for the glare. Let me see if I can turn it down a bit. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is Reddit from No Sleep, but the user's since been deleted. Where am I? For the past 20 years, I have had the privilege to portray the iconic Santa Claus at my local mall. For safety purposes, all names and locations within this writing have been changed. The context remains the same. 20 years ago, I took on the iconic role of Santa Claus at the local mall, Christmas is my favourite holiday, and I always had the Santa Claus build anyway. I was a somewhat overweight gentleman who was able to grow a long beard during the winter season. All I had to do was dye my beard white, on the red suit, and I'd be golden. I worked on my voice to the best of my ability to ensure I didn't sound like a 20-something guy. I had the voice, the suit, the beard, the look, everything else I needed to get ready for the Christmas rush. Outside of the red suit, I am just an electrician who makes a decent wage. But every year, for 20 years after Thanksgiving, I was Santa Claus, beacon of joy and happiness to little kids around the world. In my 20 years on the job, I learned the most valuable lesson of all: never promise anything. There will be kids that ask for a lot for Christmas, things that most parents couldn't even dream of affording. I was taught from day one that you always say the following: Santa will see what he can do. Making promises was the last thing you wanted to do. Some parents could barely afford their children decent clothes, let alone a new video game system or whatnot. I've held back tears numerous times whenever a kid would ask for something as simple as a new toothbrush. The great thing about this mall was that there was no fee to sit on my lap. The only fee came if you wanted a picture to take home, which was an even $5 for a nice 8x10 and 2 wallet prints. This past Christmas was the toughest because it's my last year portraying Santa Claus. All of the mall employees hugged me every day when I came to work outside of the costume. By this time, I was pushing 50 and still working as an electrician, but I always thought that portraying Santa Claus was the best job ever. All good things must come to an end, they say, and thus did my run. The day after Thanksgiving, known as Black Friday to most, was the first day of my last tenure as Santa. There were tears, mostly from me, and I knew whoever was taking my place was going to do a great job. The turnout this year was far better than anyone had ever imagined. I think word got out that Simple Man himself, Ted Bridges, that's me, was retiring as Santa, and they wanted one last memory with the man that had done it for 20 years. Really humbling, but I'm not special. For the most part, the kids were great, as usual. Sure, there were some kids that were a bit spoiled, for lack of a better term. They asked for ridiculous things like drones, the newest iPhones and iPads. These kids were barely over 10. They shouldn't need these things. Or am I just getting older? Friday, December the 23rd was my last shift, the night before Christmas Eve. The mall was packed with last-minute shoppers and families with kids coming to see me. This last day was easily the toughest one to date, as I knew, after that day, I'd been moving on from playing Santa. I know this seems strange, but after a while I started to believe I actually was Santa. What set me apart from other mall Santas was the fact that I never took a break. I would be there from 10 in the morning until 7 in the evening, but I never once took a lunch or a break. Santa never took breaks, and neither would I. The day went faster than I could even explain, and at 7 o'clock it was time to wrap up. I was beginning to leave, sorry. I noticed a little girl slowly approaching me. "Hello, young lady, where are your parents?" But she didn't speak. She kept walking towards me and held her arms out as if she wanted to pick me up. I looked around for her parents, but I didn't see anyone that was looking for her. I picked up the little girl and sat her on my lap. I asked her name. "Lisa." "Lisa, that's a beautiful name. What's your last name, Lisa?" "Wheeler." I took this information to relay a radio message to have the name Lisa Wheeler broadcast over the mall speaker system. That way her parents would come and find her. Wow. "What do you want for Christmas, Lisa?" She didn't answer. She looked off into the distance as if she were in a trance, and then looked up at me with the cutest set of blue eyes. "A friend." Oh, I was a bit taken aback by the answer. In my 20 years of being Santa, I've never had any kids say they wanted a friend for Christmas. "I'll be your friend, Lisa. Santa Claus will always be your friend." She smiled, gave me a hug, and hopped down off my lap. I tried to make her stay put until security came, but she ran off. I weighed about 300 pounds at this time. That's with the red suit. And no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch up to her. I saw her turn a corner into a department store, and when I did the same, there was no sign of her. Started asking around if anyone had seen a little girl with about 4 feet tall, long blonde hair, blue eyes, pigtails, in a pink and white dress. No one saw her. Security came and asked where she went. When I told them that she ran off into the department store, they started to become worried. "Did the parents show?" I asked. "No, not yet. Maybe she wandered off home and came here. From home, sorry." I was getting more and more worried as the time went on. After a thorough search of the mall, there was no signs of Lisa Wheeler. She had disappeared. It was around 1 in the morning when they finally told me I should go home. But I couldn't sleep knowing I let a defenseless little girl leave. Laid in my bed all night, staring at the ceiling. I should have been able to catch up with her and keep her safe. The next morning, I woke up made breakfast, and got onto the computer to do a little research. I thought if I could find the parents, I could let them know where she was last seen if she hasn't been found yet. I googled the name Lisa Wheeler, Parkersburg, and Google. Missing child, 9-year-old Lisa Wheeler was reported missing by her mother, Miranda Wheeler, February 6th at 9 a.m. She was last seen wearing a pink and white fleece dress as well as her hair in pigtails. She's approximately 4 feet 2 inches tall, weighing at 75 pounds and has blonde hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Lisa Wheeler, please contact the Parkersburg County Police Department. Nothing made sense. February 6th, and I saw her the night before on the 23rd. Perhaps it was a typo, but the more I researched, the more uneasy I became. The next article sent shivers down my spine. Breaking news, the body of 9-year-old Lisa Wheeler was found today, February 16th, in a frozen ravine a mile outside of her home. Parkersburg police are investigating the cause of death, which appears to be an act of foul play. Lisa Wheeler was gone. She died nearly a year before she met me, and all she wanted was a friend.
Oh
Oh,
my days.
that
Oh,
one
oh,
was sad.
very sad. Just wanted a
Hmm.
friend.
Oh.
That was more devastating than the Christmas tree eating people. Well, guys, thank you for joining us today for Wednesday Spooky Story Time. Christmas time. Just in case you haven't seen any of my other videos where I'm saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. We have more Wednesday videos coming up.
If you've got any, send them in to us.
Yes, at gmail.com. Grab your brew at gmail.com. And send us some react compilations, guys, because
Mm,
we do enjoy them. Just make sure you label react for us, but we do like your reacts and any suggestions for spooky time. We welcome that too.
yeah, and if anyone would ever like to join us for a spooky
Mm.
session,
Oh,
that'd be
yeah, we
fun.
welcome
Yeah.
guests on our podcast. Go ahead and email us any of this information you want, any information you want to give us, or if you would like to be on the show. I'll get there eventually. Sorry, guys. But again, email us here on the screen. And coming up, we have which episodes next week?
Yes. Ooh,
Stay
witches.
tuned. Have an amazing week, guys.
Bye.